Today, I'm a corpse cleaner for someone who kicked it after returning back from Coachella. The victim was Emma, 23 years old, who survived the desert, survived the cellulite-free money pit that is weekend one, survived the chemical roulette that is any Coachella campsite after 11 p.m. or probably really 24/7, and survived genuinely not being able to tell if someone's offering you melatonin or ketamine, and the general vibe being that both answers are fine. Emma survived all of that and made it home. Then she unpacked, or didn't, walked into her bathroom and exited stage left for good. The glitter was still on her collarbone when they found her. Festival glitter, by the way, has the loyalty of a golden retriever and the grip of an influencer who smells a collab. Some free spirit festival girly nymph named Luna with 4 flower crowns probably tried licking it off at some point, but body glitter does not come off for shit or spit. Seriously, it outlasts everything. Even Emma, as it turned out. So she was wedged between the toilet and the tub with a vomit trail that ran from the sink to the floor. A physical record of exactly how much warning she had, which was some, and exactly how much she could act on it, which was apparently none. Dehydration, heat stress, and 3 days of substances that you cannot name on a death certificate conspired with the kind of efficiency that shut down Emma's organs. Okay? Poor thing, honestly. She spent 3 days in the empire of drop sets and dusty Instagram content that has outlived her, which maybe that's the mission, right? Like, I don't know. I cannot literally think of any other reason why somebody would want to go to Coachella willingly, except to prove that they were there and that they could afford the $600 ticket, the $400 tent, the $22 agua fresca, the $180 festival fit consisting of a crocheted bralette, cut-off shorts with the pockets hanging out, cowboy boots, and at least one existential quote about being present, whilst ironically documenting every single porta potty shit dropped. But what do I know? I'm just a corpse cleaner. Today, I'm a corpse cleaner cleaning up after a man who died doing what he loved, living his truth. A truth that was deeply, aggressively furry. Victim was Ben, 44 years old, an elementary school principal, which in hindsight, for some reason, makes this whole thing even more messed up to me. He spent his days enforcing rules and spent his nights dressing up as a 6'3" golden retriever named Biscuit. Okay? This is not some metaphor. Biscuit was his fursona. There's a laminated reference card in his wallet and everything. So Ben/Biscuit hired someone from a very, very niche corner of the internet to play the role of his owner for the evening. Which, fine. People have their thing. I'm not here to yuck anyone's yum. The problem wasn't the costume. The problem was that Ben took full character immersion way too seriously. The hotel room he was in hit 94 degrees because he wanted it to feel like a city kennel, and the full body fursuit that he was wearing had the breathability of a fucking Hot Pocket. Ben's hired Triple D Cup handler put a tight collar around his neck before tying it to the bedpost, not realizing that Ben passed out inside the dog costume, so she choked him out for good. Woof! There was no playing dead here. This was legit. When I walked into the room, it smelled like synthetic fur, which is not exactly unfamiliar to me, and hot piss. Honestly, a lot like a dog park, so points for authenticity there. There was a chew toy, a food bowl with his name on it, Biscuit, not Ben, and a dog bed that definitely got humped. By Ben, not Biscuit. Anyway, the laminated card said that Biscuit's favorite treat was peanut butter, so may he rest in Reese's and Pieces as he crosses the Rainbow Bridge. But what do I know about anything? I'm just a corpse cleaner. Today, I'm a corpse cleaner for a mukbang influencer who ate herself to death. Literally. Victim was Molly, 26 years old, 340,000 subscribers, and a pancreas that had been screaming into the void since the channel hit 10,000 followers. So 3 nights a week, Mukbang Molly sat on her studio apartment floor and turned dinner into an endurance sport for content, all right? Her death occurred on night 2 of what's called a mukbang marathon. I'd never heard of it before, which is really just a cute way of saying prolonged self-sabotage and untreated childhood trauma stemming from an almond mom. Most likely. I'm not a therapist, but this is what me thinks, right? So Molly was on her fourth tray of Stouffer's lasagna, second 2-liter bottle of Mountain Dew, and was neck deep in a garlic bread situation when her calorie crusade took a turn for the worse. All right. This was a level 10 carbtastrophe. All right. A lasagna apocalypse. a tsunami. There are 14 seconds of footage where she pauses mid-bite, looks straight into the lens, and then dips out of the frame. All right, that's when she kicked it. Cause of death is going to read something clinical, like, acute cardiac event under extreme physical stress, which is true. But basically, layman's terms, Molly forked herself to death. I work the scene the same way I always do. Methodical, precise, zero reverence for the mess, and obviously full respect for the reality of the situation. I will say this as someone who gets paid to show up after the worst version of a plan plays out. Your body does not care about your followers or your numbers, okay? It has its own numbers, and when they bottom out, so do you. That said, I will say this about Molly. Queen ate and left no crumbs. But what do I know? I'm just a corpse cleaner. Today, I'm a corpse cleaner for a man who was killed by hustle culture. Victim's name was Chase, 31 years old, updated his LinkedIn profile more than he slept, which, based on the biohacking stack on his nightstand, was only for people who didn't want it bad enough. It, of course, being the life that he was too busy building to actually live and enjoy. Chase died by cardiac event because his heart apparently was the only thing in his entire life that knew when to stop. There were no photos of anyone anywhere in Chase's entire bazillion-dollar home. Just whiteboards, supplements, nootropics, wearable tracking devices, intermittent fasting guides, mindfulness apps, 4 different creatine variants, lion's mane, whatever the hell that is, a cold plunge, and a sauna. Chase, rest in peace, was a human being curated down to his most productive parts who ran until the parts gave out. I call it grindicide. His 5 a.m. alarm was still going off when I arrived, mind you. Just a phone on his desk screaming, "Get up, no excuses," into an empty apartment. Sort of empty, I guess, because there was a rotting corpse there for 4 days, which in hustle culture would probably be called like unplugging or something. Okay, listen. I don't know who needs to hear this, but here's a little PSA from someone who just cleaned up the final output of a man who never learned to stop. It's okay to work a 9-to-5 that feeds your family, pays your bills, and allows you to shut off at the end of the day. Your worth is not measured in burnout metrics or how close you can get to a breakdown. Clock out. Go home. Be a person. Your job is probably going to be replaced by AI within the year anyway. I hope not. And listen, if not, great. The grind will still be there tomorrow. But only if you don't enter Q5 in a goddamn body bag. But what do I know? I'm just a corpse cleaner. Today, I'm a corpse cleaner for a woman whose cat basically wound up killing her. Victim's name was Layla, 33 years old, and according to the scene and the deeply unimpressed Tabby named Muffin, Layla tried to punt said Tabby across the kitchen for the crime of existing near her kinkles. She underestimated 2 things, friction and karma with claws. Here's how it went down. Layla wound up for this big giant kick, but you see, Layla was wearing scrunchy socks, and physics, as we saw on her indoor camera, did its thing and got her on her knees. Layla, whatever, it's fine that I just did that. Her heel shot out, her body went full Looney Tunes, and her head introduced itself to the marble counter edge at impressive speed. It was lights out for Layla instantly, right before she landed face first in Muffin's water bowl. Now, we're talking only 2 inches of water in a salad plate-sized bowl, but unconscious airway plus any water is just not a math problem you will survive. Me ouch. There were no signs of struggle, mind you, obviously, just Layla versus Layla, and one catastrophic slip with the bowl that did exactly what it was designed to do, hold water. Only this time, it also held the universe's formal response to trying to hurt an animal. So, the moral of the story, don't pick a fight with something that has 9 lives, perfect balance, and a hydration system that will absolutely humble you into the afterlife. In other words, don't fuck with cats. But what do I know? I'm just a corpse cleaner. Today, I'm a corpse cleaner for a man who died role-playing zombie sex. The victim was Miles, 41 years old, and he had a sexual fetish for pretending to be an undead zombie, eating the flesh of his living girlfriend. And I don't mean eating in the more like traditional sense. I mean that he would pretend to eat the hot, steaming, open, bloody, sticky, gory guts out of his girlfriend while she method acted being the unlucky villager who ran the wrong way. Listen to what happened, okay? Miles took a 1/4 pound of rare roast beef and he strewn it across his girl's torso, chest, and neck before tearing into it with his teeth whilst having sex, like a bloodthirsty, undead Dirk Diggler. Sexy time, but make it Boris head. All right, in the middle of all of this, Miles choked. He inhaled a wad of USDA choice meat at what was apparently a critical moment of distraction and aspirated to death face down on his girlfriend's chest/charcuterie board. She tried to give him the Heimlich, bless her heart, but she couldn't get any leverage. I mean, it is hard to save a zombie when he's still technically on top of you while simultaneously choking on a cold cut. So you know how I like to say that I don't like to yuck anyone's yum when it comes to kink? Like, we all have our thing. It's fine. I don't know. I think I might be okay doing that here. I think I feel fine about yucking Miles's literal yum. Anyway, in terms of cleanup, super, super easy. Like, they could have called a grocery store janitor for this one. The majority was hours-old sandwich fixings that, honestly, a Costco mop boy could have managed blindfolded. Still, in case you were wondering, I charged my full rate anyway, because work is work. It's my time, even when, the job smells like a number 6 with extra mayo. Also, I had to toss the rest of my turkey club when I got back into my car because I was so grossed out by sandwich meat, which was very annoying. So anyway, this case, it took the cake. Or beef. Shut up, whatever. Today, I'm a corpse cleaner. Today, I'm a corpse cleaner at a Cinco de Mayo party where a woman set a boundary and then enforced it with horsepower. The victim was a 41-year-old man named Tom, who was apparently handsy in that creepy unk way that made all the chicas in a 10-foot radius start mentally mapping exits. He was a drunk fiesta terrorist who obviously thought he had Riz. He was a terrorist. Now, the party itself was textbook. Think overcrowded backyard in Queens, fluorescent margarita mix, and someone's white coworker aggressively butchering the pronunciation of jalapeno. Now, here is where Tommy Boy stopped being just loud and creepy and started being the reason women have to text their location to friends. He zeroed in on a woman who made it clear as Blanco Tequila that she wasn't into him. But you see, entitled, narcissistic, good old boys like Tom don't like being told no. So he followed this woman out to her car and attempted to grab her as she got in. Now, I don't know if this woman meant to just scare him or permanently solve el problema, but she stepped on the gas and drove her point home over Tom's thick skull. Cleanup was outside, obviously, which sounds easier until you realize that pavement holds onto absolutely everything. Ay, Dios mío, I am talking blood, tire marks, squished muscle, the whole cheesy enchilada. Anyway, I hosed, I scrubbed, I treated, and I grabbed a fish taco on the way out, because, a girl's gotta eat, especially when she's a corpse cleaner. Today, I'm a corpse cleaner at a gender reveal party. Listen, all right, pink or blue, maybe a confetti cannon if you're feeling festive, balloons, cake, whatever. These people decided that their baby's genitals required pyrotechnics because nothing says new life like homemade explosives, a bunch of people who really couldn't give a shit how your kid is going to piss in life, and a backyard full of wine coolers. The victim wasn't even one of the expected parents, all right? He wasn't even a guest. He was a +1. The poor guy's name was Kevin. Kevin, like the innocent idiot minion whose only crime was wanting to stand near the deviled eggs, which just so happened to be in the blast radius. The device was loosely described as a smoke cannon. You have seen them all over social media. All right, it was rigged to fire when the soon-to-be parents' reveal countdown hit 0, except it didn't disperse. It fucking detonated. I am talking shrapnel everywhere, bodies hitting the deck, tables flipped over, blue powder embedded in drywall like festive buckshot. Yay, you're having a boy! Kevin is dead. He instantly died, which frankly is the kindest outcome in a situation this stupid. The smell was a mix of gunpowder, cheap barbecue, and the consequences of making a fetus a spectacle. The parents were gone, mind you, the second they realized they couldn't use any of the footage for Instagram engagement. What was the point of any of this, Derek? This whole thing is stupid now. Kevin stole my thunder. Let's just blame the hormones on that one, shall we? In any event, congratulations, you guys. It's a boy. It's also manslaughter. But what do I know? I'm just a corpse cleaner. Today I'm a corpse cleaner at a bachelorette party where a bridesmaid's artery got sliced by a lighting fixture. Victim was Zoe, and she was attending a bachelorette party at one of those aggressively cliche rentals where there's a neon sign for every social media affirmation ever created. Like, you're literally perfect, and you woke up like this queen. Apparently, the girls hired one of those traveling sensual wellness instructors. His name was Phoenix, obviously, and his whole thing was teaching bridal intimacy empowerment, which, translated from influencer cult dialect, meant blindfolds, silk restraints, and breathing exercises conducted on rented furniture with the structural integrity of a wet graham cracker. Zoe, naturally and understandably, decided that she was going to partake in this intimacy workshop while wearing a rhinestone cowboy that said Bride Tribe Slut. Then she met the chandelier. Now, personally, and this is just me, if I walk into an Airbnb and the overhead lighting is attached with what appears to be dental floss, I ain't hanging from it. But Zoe, bless her adventurous heart, allowed Phoenix to guide her through some trust surrender exercise, which involves silk wraps, suspension positioning, and a dangling chandelier. Long story short, the chandelier detached from the ceiling. Zoe came down hard and took wrought iron, shattered glass, and approximately 11 pounds of Hobby Lobby crystal directly to her face and throat. The impact severed her carotid artery almost instantly. Sadly, there just were not enough neon signs in the world to affirm Zoe out of the laws of physics. Live, laugh, love is a lovely sentiment, and chandeliers are super gorge, but neither is a substitute for load-bearing hardware. But what do I know? I'm just a corpse cleaner. Today, I'm a corpse cleaner for an ASMR influencer who died doing what she loved, which was making noises that causes orgasms for the ears. Orgasm, A-U-R-gasm, whatever, you get it. Victim's name was Alexis, 29 years old, and internet famous for clicking and crunching and whispering into microphones to gently fuck your nervous system. Her place looked like a sensory junk drawer exploded. I am talking the granular pitter-patter of thousands of tiny grains of rice ticking against each other in large metal bowls and jars of sticky slime creating slow sucking pop sounds as it separates from itself, and then that syrupy tacky crackle as it folds back together. You know the slime sound. I know you do. Or, and this one was really interesting, I'd never seen this before, a tray of shaved soap curls lined up with the precision of a Coke Daddy, each one feather light and crisp and almost sounded like you were turning the pages of a very old book. Orgasm inducing, absolutely, if you're into that kind of thing. Anyway, cause of death, occupational hazard is what I'm going to say. So listen to what happened. Lexi was dripping liquid latex over rice paper without realizing that she was allergic to latex, which I feel like it seems like the kind of allergy you should discover behind the roller rink with your first boyfriend, not while finger banging your side hustle into a microphone at 29. But here we are. Anyway, the cleanup was torture. You wouldn't think so, but every single thing in that apartment made noise. I have no problem with the typical crime scene. I am more than fine with guts and gore. I once picked melted human flesh off of a metal grate like I was picking Play-Doh out of a waffle iron. You feel? But being softly seduced by a decomposing woman's playthings while kneeling in uncooked rice was something else entirely. But what do I know? I'm just a corpse cleaner. Today, I'm a corpse cleaner, a professional shit scraper for the aftermath of bodies exploding, rotting, or just otherwise failing spectacularly. Today's job was at a low-rent apartment complex nicknamed Crackingham Palace, which looked like Craigslist and hepatitis had a baby that came out tweaking. So I gear up, I pop a peppermint under my tongue, and I slap Vicks under my nostrils like war paint, because this ain't my first rodeo. You know what I'm saying? I am well acquainted with that rotting rotisserie chicken scent that slaps me across the face at almost every scene I go to involving indoor heat and skin sloughing off bone. Anyway, today's call was a routine unattended death, which is code for someone died alone, no one noticed, and now it stinks like ass. I mean, this one was smelly and gory, smory. The victim was named, ironically, Liv, probably short for like Olivia or whatever, but the irony slaps all the same. She was naked, they almost always are, face down, ass up, surrounded by pork egg rolls that hardened into hockey pucks, and a homemade device that Liv apparently attempted to insert into an orifice. Her butthole. It was meant for her butthole. Okay, so she'd crafted some kind of pleasure device using a rolling pin, a condom stretched over the business end, and bubble wrap for texture. I'm assuming, right? And she had enough tape to mummify a small child. Now, Lady MacGyver got a little ambitious with her new toy, and she perforated her colon. Also, my knee landed in whatever soupy sludge seeped out of that greedy little butthole that previously sought pleasure and ended up killing Liv from the inside out. It stuck to my leg with the commitment of Gorilla Glue, and I wanted to scream. But I didn't, because this is what I signed up for, and business is booming, because I am a corpse cleaner.